Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. What the heck? Who forgot to tell Sam, Carla, Cliff, and Norm that this is a civil case, not a criminal case? I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
We will go on the record in the matter 24 CV 134 Northern ATM S LLC versus Joe Snuzewski. Close enough. All right. We're set here today in this matter for a contested court trial. The parties were present in the court by video and in person on January 9th, 2025. The court did require the parties to speak to each other to see if they can negotiate and resolve the matter. The court has been informed that an agreement has not been reached. Therefore, we will continue with the case here today. All right, then Mr. Lundeen, we have Barry Lundeen appearing in person with his counsel or with his client, Northern ATMs LLC. Who is appearing with you and seated next to you, Mr. Lundeen?
Clint Hetchler, Hetchler.
And who is Mr. Hetchler?
He's the sole member of the LLC.
Sole member of LLC. Thank you. And we have Joe, and how do you say your last name?
Suznowski.
Suznowski?
Yes.
Suznowski appearing in person without counsel. We're set today again for this contested court trial. Mr. Lundeen, you have filed the complaint. This is your matter. I am going to ask, at least at this time, that both Mr. Hetchler and Mr. Suznowski please stand and rise and raise your right hands and be sworn in.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Lundeen, you may begin.
I would call Mr. Hetchler, Your Honor.
Mr. Hetchler, please come forward, have a seat at the witness stand. Thank you.
State your full name, please.
Clinton E. Hetchler,
Mr. Hetchler, where do you reside?
Hudson, Wisconsin.
Okay, and are you the sole member of the plaintiff, Northern ATMs LLC?
Yes, I am.
What's the business of Northern ATMs LLC?
Placing ATMs in premises and various businesses and providing cash for their needs.
Are those ATMs that Northern ATMs LLC owns?
Yes,
And how many ATMs do you have out there placed?
over 100.
Are these generally in bars, restaurants, gas stations, etc.?
Yes, they are.
Did you have an ATM that was placed at What the Heck Bar?
Yes, I did.
And where was that located?
Spooner, Wisconsin.
Okay, and
Excuse me, sorry.
do you see Mr. Suznowski here today?
I do, yes.
See the owner of What the Heck Bar?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you some exhibits. May I approach on it?
You may.
First exhibit is number 1. Mr. Hetchler, what is that?
That is the placement agreement that is signed by each establishment.
What's the date on that placement agreement?
2nd of January of 24.
And if you flip to the second page, who signed the placement agreement on behalf of What the Heck Bar?
Joseph Suznowski, I think.
Okay. And did you also sign the agreement on behalf of Northern ATMs LLC?
Yes, I did.
And was this agreement signed on the date that you placed the ATM?
The ATM had been placed there with a sign the date that Joe and I met to sign the ATM, and he bought the ATM bought the establishment from somebody else.
Okay. And did you give him the ATM placement agreement in advance so that he could read it?
I gave it to him the day that we met.
Okay. And did he read through it?
He took it into his office and made a copy of it, and so my guess is that he read through it, yes.
Okay. And he made a copy of it, signed it, and gave it back to you?
Yes, he did.
Was the ATM at the What the Heck Bar all the way up until July 28th of 2024 when there was a fire at the premises?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And at any point between January 2 of 2024, when this agreement was signed, and July 28 of 2024, did Mr. Cisnewski at any time attempt to cancel this contract?
No, he did not.
Was the ATM placement agreement in full force and effect on July 28, 2024?
Yes, it was.
I'd like you to flip to the second page of that contract. And at paragraph 14, does it require the business owner to maintain insurance?
Yes, it does.
Specifically in the second sentence of that paragraph, does it require the business owner to maintain casualty insurance for the replacement value of the ATM?
Yes, it does.
What is the replacement value of the ATM? Is it the cost of the machine and the cash?
Cost machine, cash, and the other items to protect the ATM.
How often do you fill the machines with cash?
It's on a as needed basis, but typically 1 to 2 weeks, every ATM gets visited.
Did Mr. Cisnewski or anybody else on behalf of the What the Heck Bar ever inform you that the machine was not insured?
No,
Okay. Was there a fire at the premises at July 28 of 2024?
yes,
I ask you to flip to exhibit number 3. Is that a report that you downloaded off the internet indicating that there was an alarm for a fire at the What the Heck Bar at 1:45 a.m. Sunday morning, July 28th of 2024?
yes.
When did you learn about the fire?
I learned about it on the 28th.
The day of the fire?
Yeah,
How did you learn about it?
somebody called me and told me that What the Heck had burnt.
Okay, and what did you do?
I called Joseph.
Mr. Sanuski,
Yes,
did you talk to him?
I did talk to him.
And what did you tell him?
I asked him if the ATM, how he was, and that I was sorry that the bar burnt, and I asked to make sure that the ATM was protected and that it was placed when it was found in the garage that's on the premises still.
Okay, and did he indicate that he would do so?
Yes, he did.
Did you go up to visit the site at any point after that initial phone call with Mr. Cisnewski?
I went the next day to look at it. Yes,
Would have been Monday, July 29 of 2024.
yes, it was.
And when you went to the site, were you able to speak to Mr. Cisnewski on that date?
No, I was not.
Were you able to speak to anybody on behalf of What the Heck Bar?
There was nobody there.
Okay, and what did you observe when you got to the site?
A pile of rubble.
Okay, was there anybody there?
There was no one there.
Okay, and were you able to observe your ATM on that date?
No, I wasn't. It was in the rubble.
Did you follow up with Mr. Cisnewski at any time after that?
I did. I sent him an email I think it was email or text anyway, that he was supposed to secure the ATM when he cleaned up the rubble.
Okay, and when was it that you next spoke to Mr. Cisnewski?
I don't recall.
Okay, did you speak to him again after that initial conversation on the day of the fire where you told him to protect the machine?
Yes, I did.
When?
I don't know the exact day.
Was it a few weeks later?
Yes, it was. Yep.
Did you make a return visit to the site after that initial visit that you made on July 29?
I did, yes, and there was nothing left out there.
Okay, when was that?
I don't remember the exact day of that.
Okay, was it within a couple of weeks of the fire?
It was within 3 weeks, something like that, yes.
Did you speak to Mr. Cisnewski the next time you went to
I
the site?
asked him where the ATM was, and he said it was piled up in the rubble and disposed of and whatever, and there was nothing there. There was no cash there.
And how did he know there was no cash there?
Said they opened up the ATM with an excavator.
Mr. Cisnewski told you that?
Yes, and so did the guy that was on the site with, all I can say is long hair. I don't know his name.
Okay, do you see him in the courtroom
I
today?
do, yes. He's sitting in second seat from the left.
And what did he tell you?
He said there was nothing there. There's no money. They opened it up. There was nothing there.
Okay.
That they used an excavator or a bobcat, something to that effect.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to go back to exhibit number 2. And number 2 has a number of subparts. There is A through I.
Yes,
What are those?
this is a condition the ATM was returned to me in after I asked for it back and they finally returned it to me. They left it sitting, left it on the site there, whatever, set it next to the bar. Or next to the garage that was left standing.
Who took these pictures?
I did.
And these pictures represent the condition that the ATM was in when you saw it.
This is how it was returned to me.
Okay, so if you take a look at Exhibit 2A, what does that reveal?
That shows that there was no fire inside of the ATM cash box. There's no burn marks. It's clearly just an overheated metal box. There's no flame. There's also a missing lock in that picture.
Okay, so when you speak of a cash box, is that what we see in blue?
Yes,
Okay, that's the cash box.
that is that's called a cassette, and that's what holds the cash tightly squeezed together.
So there's a front part to it, and then there's a divider, and then a back part. Where would the cash sit?
The front part is where the rejects go. The back part that's sliding into that area is where the actual cash sits.
When you viewed the machine and took these pictures, was there any evidence of a fire inside that cash box?
No,
Okay, the paint isn't even burned off the cash box.
well, they're not painted, they're metal, but there's still wires showing. You can see the insulation on the wires.
Was there any remnants of paper within the cash box at all?
There was not.
Flip to Exhibit B, please, under Exhibit 2B, excuse me.
Yep,
What is that a picture of?
that's the mechanism that actually holds the door shut. And the mechanism shows in the up and unlocked position. So the lock is what holds that mechanism in place when it's locked. And that mechanism is up. So the door was clearly opened without it being damaged, because there's no way to actually push that up after the thing has been smashed and driven over like that.
Okay. And so looking at the left side of that picture, when you're speaking of a latch, is that depicted on the left side there?
Yeah, if you see the thing with hooks on it, that's what actually locks the door in place with the frame of the ATM. And if you look inside the hole on that metal plate that goes to the right from the top latch, that hole indicates that there's no lock inside of there anymore. The lock has been removed.
Okay. And the thing on the left, the latch with the hook on it.
They're not bent.
Okay. If that is pushed down, the machine is locked.
Yes,
So this lock is up.
yes, the lock is opened.
The latch is up and the lock is missing.
Yep,
Flip to Exhibit 2C, please.
yep.
Does that show the wires inside the ATM?
Shows the wires, yes, and they're not burnt.
Is the plastic coating still on the wires?
Yes, it is.
Flip to Exhibit 2D. Does that again show those wires?
It does. And it also shows that the bottom latch is not damaged. If you look at it, the hook on that is not damaged, but the door of the machine, or not the door, but the machine itself is damaged in a different fashion as what the door is damaged to.
Do any of these pictures show that there was any pry bars or excavation equipment or anything that was used to open this machine?
No, there's no damage on the side where they would go in with the pry bar to open it up, and the hooks would be bent out of shape.
Is it obvious to you, Mr. Hatchler, that this lock was drilled through or busted so that the machine was opened?
Yes,
Exhibit number 2E. Is that a better picture of the plastic wiring inside the machine showing that it's not burnt up?
again, you can see the wires and you can see the dog legs on those latches, and they're not bent.
Exhibit 2F, is that a better picture of the inside of the cash box?
Yes, it is. There's no burn marks in there. If there was paper money in there, there would be burn marks. There'd be residue from, residue and burn marks on the side of the cash drawer.
If you take a look at 2G, is that the hole in that metal plate that you spoke of earlier?
That shows that the lock is entirely missing. It's gone. And the housing that holds it, it's not damaged.
Exhibit 2H, we see a hole there to the top right side of that picture. What is that?
That's where the lock exists, and the hole is where the combination comes through, or the lock, whatever you call that, the mechanism that comes out from the lock, which is a metal pin, if you will, and then the combination goes on top of that, which that's metal also.
And is that completely missing?
It's totally missing.
Exhibit 2I, is that another picture of some other wires inside the machine that aren't burnt up?
That's wires that are still existing in the machine. And again, it shows the side part of the cabinet does not have pry marks on it. There'd be scratches, there'd be something that indicates where somebody had to pry on it heavily to access it.
After you saw the machine in August of 2024 and you took these pictures, what'd you do?
I called the police.
Okay, and what did you tell them?
I had them come out and take pictures of it too,
Why?
because I believe there was a theft here.
If you would please turn to exhibit number 4. Is that an email that you followed up with to Mr. Cisnewski on August 15 of 2024?
Yes,
And does that confirm that you told Mr. Cisnewski not to take the machine off site, but instead to retain it?
yes,
Is that the email that you spoke of, excuse me, that you spoke of earlier?
yes, it is.
I ask you to turn to exhibit number 5, please.
I'd like to state too that the guy with the long hair in the back is shaking his head at me too.
Well, I'm not noticing that, but please, if anyone makes any indication that you're trying to communicate with anyone at any time, I will excuse you from my courtroom.
Okay,
I was too busy paying attention to the exhibits and writing my notes, but if I catch it, I will.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hatchler, take a look at exhibit number 5, please.
yes,
Describe to the court what exhibit number 5 is.
number 5 shows the lock mechanism. It's clearly a metal lock. This isn't a working ATM. This is how that area is supposed to look. That lock is protected by a metal plate that guards it from behind. That keeps it from being pushed through. Supposed to keep it from being pushed through.
And in the pictures we looked at earlier, that lock mechanism was completely
It's
missing.
completely missing.
Exhibit 5B, describe for the court what that is, please.
This shows a working ATM with the lock mechanism in place. You can see it along the side. The dog legs are in the up position because the door is open. That's how the ATM looks from the inside when the door is open.
Okay. And referring back to the pictures in exhibit number 2, where you indicated that the lock mechanism was up, it's the same thing.
It's the same, yeah, it's the same picture.
So when you open an ATM machine, how do you open it?
I spin the combination, go to the right combinations, lift a little lever underneath, and it raises that bar, and then a little bar drops down and holds that in the up position while the door is open.
So if somebody were to try to bust into one of your ATMs, how would they open the door to get that lock position in the up position?
They use pry bars, they use crowbars, stuff like that. If they have time, they can drill a lock.
And based upon what you saw in the pictures on exhibit number 2, how was this machine opened?
The lock was pushed or punched, was drilled out, pushed out of the way, and they used a piece of wire or something to go in and lift the mechanism.
This machine was not opened because of any fire, correct?
This was not opened after the fire. This was opened prior to the fire. There's no way if you drove on top of it that it would look like that. It's not possible.
Let me ask you to turn to exhibit number 6, please.
Yep.
Describe to Your Honor what exhibit number 6 is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
could you-
talking to her. I apologize.
Could you please describe what exhibit 6
Number
is?
6 is what I look at from my computer, and this tells me the amount of cash that's left in the machine.
So, how much cash was in the machine at the time of the fire?
4840.
$4,840.
Yep. Yes. Sorry.
Does this report also indicate what time that, well, strike that. Is your ATM business regulated by federal authorities.
It's extremely regulated by federal authorities.
And so are these machines connected to some outside source?
They're connected through the internet to the feds.
Okay. And so they can tell when the machine is in service and when the machine is not in service. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It's also monitored by CDS, which is who I process through. That's where these reports are generated from, is through CDS.
What is CDS? Just an outside monitoring?
Cardtronics, basically. It's a different name for Cardtronics that they changed over to.
And so on this report that you ran, it tells us what the last contact was that outside folks had with this machine.
That's correct.
And what is the time?
It's 10:27 PM on July 27th.
So the last contact that anybody knew that this machine was in operation was about 4 hours prior to the fire.
Yes,
And after that, it was taken out of service by somebody.
yes, it was.
Turn to Exhibit 7, please. What is Exhibit number 7?
It's a daily terminal transaction summary. This tells me what went on through the day, how many transactions happened, and it tells me what was taken out of the machine that day.
Is this a report that you can run from your office?
This is a report that I generate from my computer in my office,
So
yes.
if we turn to page 2 of Exhibit number 7, it confirms that after Sunday, July 28th, there was no transactions run through.
That's correct.
Now, if you see the last entry for any money being dispensed, it shows Sunday, July 28th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why is that?
Because they download to the feds what happened. The feds push the money through after the day. So after midnight, they do the ACH push to my account.
So this would have reflected what the transactions were for the day prior, pushed through on the 28th.
That's correct. That's the electronic push.
Could you please turn to Exhibit number 8, please? And describe what Exhibit 8 is, please.
Exhibit 8 is what a replacement cost for an ATM is.
And according to the contract, what you had placed at the What the Heck bar was an Argo 7. Is this replacement cost on Exhibit number 8 the same machine?
It has to be a different machine because they no longer make an Argo 7. They switched over to an Argo 15, which is a comparable machine.
Okay. And for you to replace the machine that was lost in the fire, this is the cost that you would pay to Triton. Is that correct?
This is what I would pay to Triton.
Is
Yes,
that where you buy your ATMs from?
yes,
Cost appears to be $3,599. Is that correct?
that's correct.
In addition, do you have to pay other fees as well?
Yeah, I have to receive the ATM at a company that receives them for a cost of $75. And then I also have to have them programmed and stuff.
And do you have something called a line conditioner that you have to put in the machine?
I put a line conditioner in because the powers fluctuate up here so much. So yeah, and the cost of that is $119, I think it was on Amazon yesterday when I looked.
And then what are the programming and installation costs for the machine?
$500.
So the replacement cost for this machine to you then would consist of this $3,599 together with the receiving fee of $75, the line conditioner of $119, and the programming and installation of $500.
That's correct.
And that total amount, if I'm doing my math correctly, is a replacement cost to you of $4,293.
That's correct.
And it goes without saying that the machine that was at the What the Heck bar is inoperable and destroyed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What was the $119 for?
It's a line conditioner. And maybe explain that a little bit better, what that is.
So the power up here fluctuates quite constantly. We have power surges and spikes, especially inside of a bar with all the coolers and apparatus that are running up there. So you put a line conditioner and it keeps it from having brownouts. It's a computer and it's also a mechanical thing. So brownouts really affect the transfer of power between the cassette dispenser computer that's actually making the transaction. So if you don't have a line conditioner in there, you'll have a lot of failed transactions because how the feds look at this is the amount of time that it takes for everything to happen. So it's a very controlled transaction.
In this particular machine that was at the What the Heck bar, did that have a line conditioner in it?
Yes, it did. It's a surge protection also.
Okay, and so the costs that you've just described to the court for the replacement cost, those reflect the type of machine that was in the What the Heck bar.
Yes,
And to replace that machine, that's your cost.
that's my cost.
Are you asking the court for judgment against Mr. Schnazuski for the replacement cost of the machine?
Yes,
And are you also asking that the court order that he pay you damages for the cash that you believe was stolen from the machine?
that's correct.
And the cash in the machine is reflected on the exhibit to be that $4,840. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Total damages, Mr. Hetchler, then, is according to my math, that it's cost you is $9,133. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'd offer exhibits 1 through 8, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Susnowski, do you have any objections?
No.
They are received.
No other questions?
All right, Mr. Susnowski, this is your opportunity right now only to ask Mr. Hetchler questions, okay?
Yes.
Only to ask him questions. You'll get an opportunity to testify after, but this is only your opportunity to ask questions.
Yes. Exhibit A. It looks like there's wires here, that the bare wires though.
Exhibit A on the,
Exhibit 2A,
yes,
are those bare wires then?
some are bare, but there's a lot of insulation inside there.
Yeah, but those are bare wires.
Is that a question?
Are those bare wires? I'm sorry.
No, they're not all bare wires.
So in A here, they look like bare wires. Are they bare wires?
Hey. Those are bare wires, yes.
Um, And exhibit B, there looks like there's burnt wires in there also.
Are we talking about 2B? Exhibit
yes,
2B?
Yes.
All right.
Can I explain how an ATM is built?
No, he's simply
Okay.
asking you
Are
questions.
those, oh, excuse me, are those bare wires also?
No, they're not all bare. There's insulation on those wires too.
On 2B,
Yes,
there's wires on 2B or,
down at the very bottom. It's a little bit blurry, but if you go to 2C, it shows that there's insulation on the wires in there.
yes, I see now. It kind of just looks like grass or something.
Right.
In that picture. In C, it looks much clearer.
Yes,
And in
same in D.
I,
You look at
bare
E,
wires also.
I, those are bare wires.
Okay.
Those look like those originate from outside of the ATM from the top.
Okay, no further questions then.
On anything? On anything with, because this is your only opportunity to ask him questions with anything that he's testified to that's been asked by his counsel.
No, that's it then.
All right. Any redirect, Mr. Lundin?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Lundin, do you have any other witnesses? Okay. Mr. Susnowski, I am now going to turn it over to you. This is your opportunity to present your side of the case. You can testify. You can call witnesses to testify on your behalf as well if you believe that they have information that will help your case. Are you going to be testifying here today?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Lundin, just for Mr. Susnowski, do you have an objection if he stays at that table?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, so you can stay seated right there, Mr. Susnowski. You are not represented by an attorney. So that means you can provide your testimony to me in more of a narrative. That means like a story. Mr. Lundin will be able to ask you questions. During your story, Mr. Lundin can also object if he thinks you're providing information or things that are not able to be provided to the court within the rules of evidence. And then, after you provide your testimony, then you can call other witnesses, all right? All right, you may begin.
Okay, on Sunday, July 28th, approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, there was a fire at What the Heck Bar. The fire department came in and basically it was total loss. They brought in an excavator Sunday morning, approximately around 6 o'clock, to extinguish any hot spots. They also did that again later on that evening. So everything was just in a pile, messed up, crushed. I did send Mr. Clint. I asked how much for the ATM machine was on August 2nd. And to show me proof, and he said it was $4,250. And I didn't receive any proof of that, but I went online and I found an ATM machine for $2,485 and I sent him a check for that.
You sent him a check
Yes, to cover
for
the
how much?
$2,485. A check was then sent back. I'm not sure what the date was. But the cleanup on the site was approximately 3 weeks later, starting on August 15th, 16th, and 17th. The witnesses behind me were there. I was there. We saw the ATM machine. There was nothing left. I mean, everything was burnt inside there. And they cleaned up everything and got rid of all the debris. I've asked for proof a couple times of the ATM machine so I could reimburse him for it. He would just send me a text or an email. He wanted the ATM machine back, so on approximately December 11th, I hired Stacy's Cleaning and More and Dave Bennett to track down the ATM machine. And they did. It was a cost of $1,500. I contacted Clint, said we found the machine, left it at What the Heck Bar, and he picked it up end of September sometime. I had an attorney look over the contract, and he feels that,
Objection, Your Honor, that's hearsay.
okay,
Sustained, you cannot state what somebody else has told you.
yes, okay. That's all I have then. I do have witnesses there that saw the ATM machine that helped with the cleanup. So,
Right. Mr. Lundin, do you have questions for Mr. Suzniewski?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Suzniewski, the $2,485 check that you wrote was rejected by Mr. Hatchler, correct?
yes,
That was never cashed,
no,
and
correct,
it was returned to you.
yes.
Okay. What time did the alarm go off?
I'm not sure. I was at home. I wasn't notified till about 2:50 and 2:30.
Did you have an alarm system at the
Yes,
bar?
yes.
I just have to ask, you have to wait until Mr. Lundin is done with this question before you answer. My court reporter needs to take everything down and she can't take down two people speaking.
You did have an alarm system at the bar?
Yes,
Okay, and was that hooked up to local fire?
yes.
Okay, and did you find out what time that alarm rang through?
No, I did not.
According to exhibit number 3, it indicates that they received a call for a fire alarm at 1:45 in the morning on July 28th. Does that sound about right to you?
Yes,
You were notified shortly after that.
yes,
Did you speak to Mr. Hatchler the next day as he indicated?
yes.
And you don't dispute that he told you to keep the ATM on site, do you?
No, I did not.
That's all I have.
All right. Off of the questions that Mr. Lundin asked you, do you have any follow-up for the court?
No,
All right. Do you have any witnesses you would like to provide testimony?
yes.
Call your first witness.
What's Dave? Yes. Yes. Angela Elder,
Angela, what's your last name?
Elder. Sorry.
Can you spell it?
ELDER.
All right. Thank you, Miss Elder. Please come forward, raise your right hand. You're going to be sworn
Can I go
in,
over here?
and then you can be sworn in right there. That's
Okay.
fine.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Now come have a seat over here in the witness stand. And then Mr. Suzniewski will ask you some questions, and then Mr. Lundin will get the same opportunity. Yes, please bring the microphone a bit closer. Thank you.
Sorry.
Angela, were you at the what the heck on August 15th, 16th, and 17th for the cleanup?
Yes.
Did you notice the ATM machine?
Yes. And
Can you describe what you saw at the ATM machine?
that it was destroyed. Completely destroyed. Am I able to just give a statement? I'm sorry.
Cannot, you can
Oh.
only answer questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you see anyone trying to break into the ATM machine?
I did not.
That's all I have.
That's all of the questions that you have for Ms. Elder?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Lundin, do you have questions for Ms. Elder?
Just a couple. Ms. Elder, you were not at the bar on the night of July 27, were you?
Yes, I was.
And were you there in the early morning hours of July 28?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Do you have any reason to, and do you work at the bar?
I do. I was the bartender.
Do you have any reason to believe that the fire happened any earlier than Mr. Suzniewski indicated, which was at 1:45 in the morning?
Can I do a correction? We were there until 2 a.m. So I don't know where the time from the alarm system came from, if there's like a mix up and everything, but we did not leave that bar until 2 a.m.
And the fire hadn't started yet?
Not to my knowledge. It felt, sorry.
That's okay. You said when you saw the machine 3 weeks later, 2 to 3 weeks later, that it was destroyed. Do you recall you saying that?
Yes,
Okay, and when you say destroyed, do you mean it was burned up?
there was nothing left besides the metal frame. It was located, the kitchen was here and the ATM was right here by the door.
And was the machine crumpled up, in your opinion? Was it run over by an excavator or anything?
I did not witness that, no. I did notice that it was bent on the one side. But again, the fire department was there and completely demolished the entire building. So even parts of the one side of the building were on the other side of the building, so.
So when you said destroyed, you meant that it was burnt.
No, it was just a metal frame left.
Okay, and so when you say metal frame, do you mean it was all smashed up, or are you just saying it was burnt?
No, it had like on the right side, or I guess that would be the right side. It was deformed.
On the right side, which would be which side of it, as far as where the door opens?
If you're like, be towards the,
You bring those back.
I think it's the right side, the ATM machine.
You may.
You can, I'm sorry.
You-
I apologize.
You're fine. It's all good.
Take a look at, that's exhibit 2, and
then
there's a few pictures,
Yep.
Is that accurately depict what the machine looked like when you saw it?
I don't recall seeing that. Looks like the top of it. I don't recall seeing the top.
Okay, well, just page through there and just confirm to me that that's what the machine looked like when you saw it. 'Cause these pictures were taken 2 months later.
Yes, I actually drove by when he was there taking photos.
Okay, did you speak to him?
I did not, but I was coming home from my job.
Can you tell me who you meant by him,
I'm sorry,
Mr. Hetchler?
Mr. Hetchler. I forget names. I apologize.
That's okay.
but yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
That's all the questions you have?
It is.
All right, Mr. Suzniewski, do you have additional questions for Ms. Elder after the questions Mr. Lundin asked?
No, I do not.
All right, you are excused and you are released and you may go back to work.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Suzniewski, your next witness,
Okay, thank you. Dave Bennett,
Dave Bennett. Mr. Bennett, can you spell your last name? All right, please raise your right hand and be sworn in.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Come and have a seat over here at the witness stand, please. You may begin.
Mr. Bennett, were you at the bar on July 28th?
Yes, I was
What were you doing at the bar?
helping you with all the maintenance and everything that night because we had a band.
What time did you leave the bar?
Not 100% sure what time it was. After 1:30, I know.
Were you at the, did you do the cleanup at the bar on August 15th, 16th, and 17th?
Yes, I did.
Did you find the ATM machine?
Yes, I did.
What condition was the ATM machine when you found it?
It was damaged with everything in the kitchen was damaged. And when I found it, I called you and everybody that was there come around because we know we were looking for it. And it was damaged. The door was opened. It was buried in the rubble. So there's no way anybody could have messed with it. And the cash drawer was opened in it. It was full of ashes. The whole thing was full of ashes. And there was no way that nothing survived in it because there was 2 video machines on each side of it. And they were totally destroyed because that's where the fire was, in the main fire of the building. Nothing was left of that whole end of the building. Because there was coolers, there was video machines, nothing.
What do you think caused the damage of the machine?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
No further questions.
Questions, Mr. Lundin?
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, did you take any pictures of the machine when you saw it on August 15, 16, or 17?
No, I believe Joe took pictures of it.
You did. Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Any question off of that question, Mr. Suzniewski?
No, I do not.
All right, you may step down. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Next witness,
Brian Daniels?
what's his name?
Brian Daniels?
Brian Daniels. Is it Brian normal spelling? B-R-I-B, that's why I was asking. B-R-Y-A-N Daniels. Raise your hand, be sworn in.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Come have a seat over here at the witness stand, please. All right, Mr. Suzniewski, you may begin.
Mr. Daniels, were you at the bar to help with the cleanup on August 15th, 16th, and 17th?
Yes,
Did you see the ATM machine?
yes.
What condition was the ATM machine?
The ATM machine was pretty much smashed. All you can see is the frame. And you can see that the wires were crispy. And the box inside where the money was all like burnt. And the machines next to it were destroyed.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Lundin, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. Thank you. Mr. Daniels, did you take any pictures?
I did not.
Did you see Mr. Suzniewski taking pictures as Mr. Bennett had indicated?
Honestly, no.
Okay. And so you said the machine was smashed.
Well, it looked like when the excavator might have smashed in and got the door opened. I don't, that's all I've seen, and then it was burnt bad. The whole building was burnt.
So the machine wasn't just burned, somebody smashed it after the fire is what you believe.
I don't believe somebody intentionally smashed it. I think when they were just cleaning up and getting the building down because there was fire, the excavating guy, I think it was Hopkins, might have hit it or something with a backhoe, maybe. But I don't think somebody intentionally destroyed it.
Okay. And you didn't tell anybody to open the machine, did you?
No,
Okay. You were just there helping out a friend to clean up.
correct. I'm the one that brought the dump trailers there, helped Dave when he loaded up and took the dump trailers away.
Were you the one that found the ATM?
Nope.
Okay. Who found it?
Dave Bennett.
Dave Bennett found it?
Yep.
Okay. And did you see anybody taking pictures of it?
No.
That's all I have.
Any additional questions off of Mr. Lundin's questions?
Oh.
You may step down. Thank you. And you also, all of you are released if you want to leave when you're done testifying, or you may stay.
Okay, Ross, you're gonna have to, thank you.
Ross, what? May you spell your last name, please? S-K-I. And it's Ross?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Please raise your right hand, be sworn in.
You affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Please have a seat at the witness stand. You may begin.
Ross, were you at the cleanup site on August 15th, 16th, and 17th?
Yes, I was.
Did you see the ATM machine?
Yes, I did.
What kind of condition was the ATM machine in?
Destroyed.
Okay. No further questions.
Mr. Lundin,
Nothing on.
you may step down and you are released. Any other witnesses?
No, that will be it, Your Honor.
All right. Any other proof or information you want the court to know, Mr. Wisniewski? And I will go to closing arguments here soon. This is your time to provide evidence to the court.
I have nothing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lundin, argument?
Well, Your Honors, there's unquestionably a requirement for Mr. Wisniewski to have insurance to cover the replacement cost. I don't know if he did or not. I haven't heard any evidence from him on that today, but he is certainly responsible for the damages for Northern ATMs, and the replacement cost consists of the value of the machine together with the cash that was in it. We know from federal government computer programming that there is $4,840 that was in the machine at the time of July 27 to July 28 of 2024. Now, with respect to that cash, Mr. Hetchler has testified to the court that unquestionably this machine was busted into on the night before the fire. And that is evidenced by the computer report that was generated indicating that the last outside communication with that machine happened at 10:27 p.m., 4 hours prior to the fire. And so the communication didn't stop because of the fire. Somebody did something to the machine at 10:27 p.m. to take it out of service, which coincides with Mr. Hetchler's belief that the machine was broken into at that time. We don't dispute that the machine was damaged, as all these witnesses have indicated, but what Mr. Hetchler testified to is that the door and the locking mechanism didn't show signs of damage, other than the fact that somebody had drilled through to remove the lock and raised the locking mechanism on the door. And that doesn't happen by an excavator. It certainly doesn't happen by a fire. The interior of the machine We have wires with coating on them still, and the interior of the fireproof box didn't have remnants in it of any money when Mr. Hatchler was able to obtain the machine. Now, what we did learn today, which was news to me, is that Mr. Cisnewski apparently took pictures of the condition that he contends he found it in on August 15, but he didn't bring those to court today. And so that certainly would have been instructive, but it also tells me that there probably wasn't any remnants of cash inside the machine because he'd removed it on the night before the incident even happened. There's no dispute about what the cost to Mr. Hatchler is for the replacement of the machine, and that is the number that he gave to the court, $4,293. That's not contested. There's no dispute about how much cash was in the machine. $4,840. The damages to Northern ATMs LLC is the $9,133. And we're asking the court to order judgment against Mr. Cisnewski for that amount.
Thank you. Mr. Cisnewski, argument. This is where you get to tell me your side and what you believe the evidence showed.
Saturday, we had a band at the bar. The ATM machine was there. I mean, it was there. I saw it. I have other witnesses. If that's too late, is it too late to bring up a witness to testify? Well, I was there at the ATM machine was in the bar. I mean, no one removed the ATM machine. If the ATM machine was removed, Clint would have called me like he has done in the past saying, ATM machine's offline, can you reset it? I never received a phone call from Clint saying it was offline. Machine was never removed. As far as the contract goes, it states that I'm responsible for the ATM machine. It doesn't state that I'm responsible for the programming or the contents of the machine. I mean, I said if the machine was offline, Clint would have called me like he's done in the past. Well, I feel I'm responsible just for the ATM machine cost.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cisnewski. Well, as Exhibit 3 states, and I'm going to state it as well, that what the heck was an iconic landmark. It truly was. What the heck has been around for as long as I can remember. I'm from this county. And when I heard that what the heck burned down, I was like, what the heck? You know, because it truly is an iconic landmark, an iconic bar. And it's sad that all of those memories, all of those trinkets and the posters and the signs and all of those things that have been there for decades are gone and destroyed. And it's sad. The crux of this case, well, it's not the crux of the case, but one of the questions that was not answered, but I think it can be answered by not being answered and spoken, is whether or not there was insurance to cover this ATM. And by not having an answer or not been told that there was insurance, gives me the answer that there wasn't insurance to cover this ATM. And as the agreement clearly states that insurance is necessary for covering the ATM, because quite honestly, the ATM is a big asset. It's like a little bank. has lots of money in it. And not only does it have the money, but it is actually worth something. And in reviewing the agreement that was signed between both of the parties and both of the people who had authority to sign this contract in this document, insurance was a necessity. It was required by the contract. By not having insurance, that violates the contract. You didn't do what you legally contracted to do to legally be able to work with Mr. Hetchler to have that ATM in that bar. And having an ATM in a bar is not a necessity. You don't need to have one. You don't need to provide that to your patrons. It's something that you do for the benefit of the patrons and, quite honestly, the benefit of the bar. The more people drink, the more they want cash to drink some more. That's just the business. Not saying that's bad at all. But clearly the contract shows that you were legally required and bound to have insurance. And I understand your argument, Mr. Susniewski. And I'm going to tell you, as a person and as a human and as a resident of Burnett County, I feel for you and the loss. I feel for the loss of what the heck. I truly do. I enjoyed that bar. I've been to that bar. Whether or not you knew it or not, I've been there. But as a judge, I have to wear a different hat and a robe. And I have to look at the law, and I have to take the facts and apply them to the law. And when I read I'm going to go to the fact of the machine. The machine was completely damaged. It was. Everybody agrees. Everybody here agrees that the machine was damaged. The difference is in how the machine was damaged. That's the disagreement. Because we have Mr. Hetchler, who's indicating and sounding very clear and precise and explaining a lot of things about ATMs. I knew some, I didn't know a lot. This is why I like this job. I learned a little about a lot. And I like that. I liked to learn about ATMs. And now I have a better idea about how ATMs function and they work and how the feds, big brother, they're always watching. They're always watching. And how the ATMs, I didn't know that until now, but I probably should have guessed that it is always communicating with Big Brother because it involves money. Everything that involves money and banks and systems like that. So much oversight, extreme oversight. So everybody agrees that the machine was damaged. It's just how was it damaged and what happened to the cash? Did the cash burn up in the fire? Was the fire that hot that it burned the very solid steel that machine is made from to get into that compartment to burn the money? Probable, possible, but did it? Or did something else happen and the machine was at one time or another after it was offline with Big Brother and checking, sometime after that 10:27 p.m. on July 27, did someone either before or after the fire, break into that ATM? That's the question. I'm going to tell you from hearing the testimony and from hearing the information by the witnesses and by you, Mr. Susnewski, I don't feel or believe that you did it. I don't think that you were the one that broke in, or you're the one that intentionally tried to take the cash. And then ultimately, then you would have had to start What the Heck on fire. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody, that's not where I'm going with this. Something happened to the cash. Something. Either somebody did break into the ATM and take the cash, or it was burned up in the fire. Either way, when we're looking at the contract and we're looking at the requirement, you're legally bound to have insurance. And in my review of the contract and the provisions in the contract, it's not just the replacement value of that ATM to make Mr. Hetchler whole, just the ATM, it's the contents inside, or the contract would be useless. Because no one is going to contract for the thing, but not the prize inside. Because at some times, some ATMs can have, I believe, up to $20,000 in them at one time. I've had a lot of bar burglaries that I've learned a lot about, and a lot, but ATMs, not specifically these types of things. So if I were to follow your argument, Mr. Susnewski, and you've presented your case very well and solidly, it would make the contract useless. And I think the contract's very clear that replacement value means replacing the machine to the specifications that that machine was, and replacing it to the least costly replacement value to get what Mr. Hetchler had in that machine. And Mr. Hetchler came across as credible. You came across as credible. Mr. Hetchler had an estimate, and he was explaining all of the things that it takes to have an ATM up and running. And wowza, I knew about the software and those things. I didn't understand. I'm very, when he was explaining that the line conditioner, as he was explaining it in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just a fancy surge protector. It's just like, it's what's to protect it so it can, so if something goes wrong, it's going to, so it doesn't have so many failed transactions, so people can use it, because that's the purpose of an ATM. Mr. Hetchler doesn't make money unless that ATM is working. He needs that. You're not going to make money unless that ATM is working. You need that, because you make with every $3.50 ATM transaction fee, you get 50 cents off the top, and he gets $3. But you get the people with the money to say, can I have another beer, please? Buy a round for everybody. That's the fun of the bar business, or the benefit of the bar business. And I don't have, I've heard that you found an ATM online and you found it for a certain price. I didn't see, you didn't provide me anything that would show that it's comparable to the Argo ATM machine that Mr. Hetchler had and needs. because I think he said it was an Argo 7 and now they're obsolete and now it's an Argo 15 that he has to go to. And I believe it. Look at our iPhones. Holy heckola. Our phones, after even a year, your phone's obsolete. I still get teased by my kids because I upgraded from what they said was a dinosaur iPhone to now still a dinosaur iPhone. Because it's a couple years old. But I'm too frugal to spend the thousands and thousands of dollars for the new up and coming and has all of the things kind of thing. But in the world of an ATM, you need what you need and you need the bare minimum. And that's that Argo 15. And it needs all of those things in order for it to run and to run properly. And I don't want to hit a man when he's down. I truly don't. And again, as a person, I do feel, I heard that night, believe me, I get the calls from the officers. I get those things and I get those updates. And it was disheartening to hear about what the heck burning and burning to the ground. But in viewing the contract and hearing the information and having what's been provided to the court, it involves not only the ATM, but all that makes that run and all the contents of it. And Mr. Hetchler did provide, and I have no reason to state that it's not accurate, the sheet from Big Brother, which shows last connectivity, July 27, 2024 at 10:27 p.m. Again, that doesn't tell me that anyone or you did something illegal or mischievous or malicious with that ATM. Just tells me it went offline. But after that, after sometime around 2 a.m. sometime when the fire started, something happened to the ATM and its contents. Mr. Hetchler deserves to be, and legally does get to be reimbursed for all of that. So the court is finding in favor of Mr. Hetchler for the total amount of the $9,000, I believe you said $133
Yes, Your Honor.
for the ATM and all that it takes to bring that ATM to working function, as well as the cash that shows that was present in the ATM at last connection. Anything else that we need to address here today?
No, Your Honor.
No,
Are you, I'm going to presume you leased the bar.
pardon me?
Did you own the bar or did you lease the bar?
I owned the bar. Owned the bar.
I'm very sad for you.
Thank you.
I hope that maybe one day it can be built.
I was underinsured.
I know,
Yeah, that was,
bars are hard. Bars are very hard.
that's, that was gonna be my retirement. I was gonna do that to retirement.
That is, bars, they are a 24/7 job.
I liked it.
Now it's fun, but I'm so sorry to hear about that.
No,
I
thank you.
really am. All right, if there's nothing further, then we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.